about a minute for all the platforms to connect. We're live on 14 platforms. Okay, let's see. Test. Let's wait for some people to come in because I didn't put up a post.
Sure,
We're just going to jump on, and then we're going to have another brother come on in an hour.
sure.
Let's see.
Actually, I've been lost from you for a while because I hit my head very hard when I was 10 months old or 11. So I have a problem with names,
Hmm.
remembering names, all
Yeah,
kinds of names, street names, people's names.
yeah.
Apart from that, I've got a pretty good memory. So I couldn't recall your name for a while, and my computer broke down, so I had to start over. And actually, a friend of mine, Peter Peterson or Jens Peterson, he introduced me to you,
All right.
and some of our mutual friends have also referred to you, but I
Wow.
couldn't come up with your name, so I was very happy to find you today.
All right, man. Hey, there's no coincidences, right?
Yeah, I believe so, but it's actually since November I couldn't find you, and I've been searching a few whiles, and then I thought, well, you'll show up in time, and you did. So thanks for that.
Right on, right on. So I won't even play the intro. There's people are starting to come in. Yeah, let me go ahead and play it just to give them a little time. We'll be back in a minute and 19 seconds. So how's it going, everybody? We're having an impromptu Soul Speaks 5D with our new beloved brother that we've met in the flesh now, Martin-Daniel. And I just want to say that one of my personal goals this year is to do everything I can from the Soulgy platform to merge the what we might call the Starseed Way Shower Light Worker community with the Disclosure Conspiracy community. And I think one of the ways that we do that, which really hasn't been put out there, in my opinion, is to talk about the connections that individuals have that are doing work on the grid, on the earth, both with an incarnated team and the etherical teams that support us all. So we just had a open mic for 2 hours, and at the very end, Martin-Daniel came in and introduced himself. He's living in Denmark, but he's Scottish. He's a Klansman, and he started talking about something really interesting. If you go to his page, it's Martin-Daniel Void-Surname, Martin-Daniel Void-Surname. You'll see he's a healer, a balancer of the mind, soul, and body, psycho body therapist, Chinese medicine seer, and coach. But he's also involved with something called life force.
Correct.
And we're going to talk to him about that and get to know him a little bit as well. Life force is something that you told us on the last show that is a network of incarnated souls like yourself on the earth working in collaboration along with an etheric team. And that's pretty much the description you gave. You gave some specifics about some of the things that were going on, and we can talk about that. Um, I think the first thing I want to ask you is, there we talked about it on the last show a little bit. We had somebody on yesterday that is working with what she calls the United Federation of Galactic Councils, something like that. You also hear about Galactic Federation. You also hear about Ashtar Command. I mean, there's other names out there of these etheric teams that people are talking about that they work with. In regard to life force, is it working in conjunction or collaboration or cooperation with any of those names or any other types of names that we might be familiar with?
Yes. Some may be familiar with the galactic councils. There are galactic council, universal councils, and there's central universal councils, also called Source, or Father, Mother, God, or Father, Mother, Divine. Well, many names, I suppose. Each belief system have their own names, talking about the same thing, through the creative force, universal loving intelligence. But Kimberly Ann Gauguin was selected by the quantum mapping system, and she's been working. Actually, she's been doing a lot of things, but I can get back to that later, because there's some very vital things that I think people should know.
Yes.
And they could look it up later, but I'll introduce it and explain it short. But to return to your question, yes, she is working with those, and there's what do you call it, the Galactic Federation of Light. As there's many federations, but all benevolent ones, all galactics are here. They are well, knowingly or not, working in collaboration somehow or another. If not on a conscious level, then perhaps on a soul level.
So they all have varying degrees of.
But they have a very. Kimberly has a direct holographic line to the as an ambassador to the councils, so she can speak. And to the Galactic Federation, she can speak to the Galactic Council, to the Universal Council, and so forth.
Okay,
and they are working in what you call collaboration, or as allies with unified efforts.
Now,
a spiritual team working with galactic beings, working on the Earth grid, you would call it, the crystalline grid, and the ley lines, and there are specific energy points that has been reversed for millennia, that are being reversed into their primordial original function and plan.
Yeah, wow, that's great. That's fantastic.
Now, I can give a specific in between Scotland and Scandinavia in the North Sea. There's a point there that has been reversed. It's happened just around Christmas.
Yeah.
So that area will rise. So maybe what they said from the spiritual team with over time, perhaps again England and Denmark will be
on the same
one land mass again. But I don't know about that. That was only what I was told. I don't know.
So this Kimberly, your sister Kimberly.
Kimberly Ann Gauguin, yes.
Okay, she's incarnated. She's heading up life force. She's incarnated on the earth at this time, as you are. Okay, and so like you gave a couple of examples. You gave
of the Russian Tsars and Katharina.
Say that again.
Married to the Russian Tsar.
Okay. So you on the last show, I asked you if life force was working in collaboration with people in the infrastructure of, let's say, government and powerful institutions, and on the worldwide level. And can you go back to that question?
Yes, exactly. That was what I wanted to return to.
Okay.
Actually, the unknown country is where all the debt is owed, and also the only real sovereignty on this Earth is a planet right now is actually the unknown country, also known as the no-name country.
Where is it?
Well, it's actually not a landmass.
Okay.
It's a back system, and all those every bond, everything that is bonded or monetized goes through the NNA system in Belgium, and every currency. So it has been, and until recently, all funds, all currency that was issued everywhere on the planet went through the Federal Reserve.
So now it's going through this other.
Now it has been taken over by Kimberly. Has worked on this for years, and now she has made the central bank and the central repository system, and everyone on the planet, every human now has their own. She's made a purse for everyone that is registered in the quantum mapping system.
Okay.
And there are so there's a global restoration plan. So now she has direct access to to get funding through to bypass all intelligence system, all central banking, the Federal Reserve, everyone. So I'm looking very much forward to this coming through.
Well, and people have talked about Nasara and Jasara and financial reset and in regard to what you're talking about, is it something that you feel is very imminent that's going to happen very quickly?
Well, I'm very happy you asked me that question. Actually, the Nasara, Jasara, and the RE or the Great Reset or the it's called many things. It's actually it's not as good as it sounds actually, because that's actually a black sun and Rothschild.
I've never believed any of it.
Yeah, so
I'm just asking, like this one that you're talking about seems to from what you're explaining, has almost like a network outside of the network in the matrix that's being instituted from a higher intelligence, our brothers and sisters that you say that life force is working with. Is that right?
That's correct. They are working and in compliance with the galactic and universal councils.
Now,
so, and they are working together for the planetary liberation. Actually, it's been announced the 3rd. That was Sunday. That the official global planetary liberation day will be the 21st of January this month.
Wow.
And there will be an effort from the 6th, that's tomorrow, through the 11th to feed all the children on the world using this network that has been set up. So I'm very much looking forward to see how that plays out.
Let's see how this goes. On the last show too, you mentioned some things specifically about Trump.
Yes.
You want to talk about that again?
Yes,
for those
sure.
People that weren't on the last show.
Well, Trump was offered a higher position by the Black Sun. He never he had to be Black Sun to be selected president, but he has stopped all cooperation with them. He's now working with Kimberly and Life Force and the Global Restoration Plan. And Kimberly, she put 500 billion at his disposal. She put it through the terminal in the White House, and he alone has the access and can decide what to do with those. And he spent some of them, 200 billion he's put aside for a stimulus bill, and other things he's been using on ghost teams to clean up in the deep state.
So, to your knowledge, is it tomorrow? There's the decision goes to vote on the Electoral College in the United States Congress. Correct. And there's a big march supposedly. I've heard there's going to be 1 million people. I don't know. I'd be impressed if there's 100,000 or 200,000. That's still a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
Do you have any insight or any intel on what's going on with all that? In other words, my question would be,
Well,
if Trump is in alignment with the galactic, right?
yes.
My question would be, who is, and so anyone else is aligned with what you're calling the Black Sun, which is like an energy or an organization, or the name you're
Yeah,
giving.
yes, I
Okay.
have some on that. Biden is, well, you could call him a marionette puppet of the Chinese CCP, Communist Party, um, and Hillary has not held back on that. Hillary Clinton, she said that she would be in charge. So, but Biden has well. It was shortly up on CNN News, and then it was taken down, and now they're explaining why they didn't say it.
Say what?
But it was it came out short that Biden is stepping down.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Also, Biden had been arrested, and there's been pictures of him with a
Ankle
what do you
bracelet.
call it? An ankle, yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, but
and he's been singing like a canary. He wanted to save his legacy and himself and his son. So he's been singing out on everyone, and he was released. And so that tomorrow is a vote, and Pence has also been stepped down.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot. There's been quite a few. There's not a lot. You really have to look for it. I mean, there's been quite a few things come out over the last 2, 3, 4 days. I'm trying to keep this in a perspective of the planet, the planet transformation, the expansion of consciousness. It's interesting to see the narrative and how it's playing out in the physical. But we have heard and seen pictures of ankle bracelets for 2 or 3 years. We've heard all kinds of stuff. And none of it's really come true. Now, the interesting thing about what you're talking about is that you said from the 6th to 11th, there would be a certain thing happening, and that right now targeted is January 21st for what you called Liberation Day. What does that mean? What do you think will happen?
Well, I don't know, because that was a message from the Galactic Council, and that was a message to Life Force, and a task they were given to Life Force, us as an organization. Well, I would not say that I can speak for Life Force as a whole. I'm very much involved in the Denmark part of the global restoration of the restoration plan, and many countries around the world has taken the Danish model of the restoration plan as as their schedule or scheme, or blueprint how to do their thing locally.
So you're working with people locally in Denmark on the transformation.
Yes, and then I'm working closely with Suzanne Hoffman, who is head of the Life Force Global efforts.
Okay.
With all the indigenous tribes, or most of them globally, has joined Life Force.
Now, so it sounds like Life Force has cells all over the world, right? It's like,
yes,
they're active. They're active in local locations throughout the world. Is that correct? Okay. So, is there a connection consciously with the people that are involved, that are working, cities apart and countries apart and so on? Is there a connection or something correlating in so far as the higher intelligent aspects that are working with them individually? I mean, are they communicating across lines?
Yeah. Well, there's a global effort and unified with the local efforts. So, but one of the objectives is to return sovereignty to the people, and free a lot of inventions that has been held back, free energy, quantum feedback, healing devices, many others. There's also the Life Force food solutions. That actually there are many what you call subgroups or substructures in life force, and then there's the attempt to return the sovereignty and the freedom to the people. So everywhere around the world, people's assemblies or people's communities are forming, and also people's common law courts are being formed simply to return the power to the people. And the idea is that this will be done over this year and next year to make a full transformation. Also in Fiji, the elected king, Tui Loma, he has trained 30,000 indigenous people to be guides into returning to sovereignty and being one again with the elements, the air, the soil, the water.
Wow. 30,000 indigenous.
Yes.
They've all come together to serve as guides for people to take them into the fifth dimension, basically.
Everywhere in the world, yes. This is also he's working with Life Force in this also. There will be open for Life Force will open for funding for individuals and for restoration projects. This will happen as soon as the structure is ready, as soon as every hole that it can be hijacked or funds can be stolen by a deep state has been closed. And also what recently has happened is the military is starting to come into compliance. And now in Fiji, for instance, the military is working 100% with the restoration plan, and they are no longer an armed force, not in their primary function. Now they're working as aid to the people.
Well, so let me ask you a couple of questions because I'm trying to get some clarity. There's been some good questions come up. There's been some good questions come up in the comments. Let me just try to put them all together in a couple of questions. What you're saying, other than the linear timeline, I've heard this for 2, 3, 4 years from different people, and we know that everybody's truly the master of their own reality. The universe communicates with each one of us in its own unique way. We all channel, we all download, we're all expanding together. So I'm not taking anything away from anyone. Where I'm trying to go with this is that it seems like it's always going to happen somewhere in front of us. You know, I feel like we're in an energy that whatever can happen right now in this moment. Correct. Do you really feel like this is going to go down on the 21st of January? Because that's the day of the inauguration, or the day after, I think.
Well, that's what has been announced, and I firmly believe that there is a capacity to actually pull it through. I'm not worried about it even.
How many people?
I'm very confident that this. Well, yeah. seeing the evidence of the capacity of Life Force in full, I've been following the efforts a long time. There was the well, one can look it up on the Speak project. We the Sovereign People of the Earth, it's called. It's a guy called Stephen Rowe that has started that project. Well, seeing the capacity, I would say that I'm very confident that this will be pulled off. And yes.
Why is it that energies and initiatives like what you're involved with Life Force and others around the world, these things that are validated by these transmissions and downloads and narratives and commentaries that people get, why is it that none of that has hit the press? I mean,
I can easily explain that.
Well, but let me finish. Yeah. Please do. But I'm not talking just mainstream media. I'm talking about alternate news. And I know there's a lot of PSYOPs platforms, even in light worker communities and all that. But still, you would think that that a force such as this that you describe and those like it would have enough resources to put out its own propaganda or its own platform or whatever you want to call it, right?
It happened only a few, 10, 14 days ago. It was launched and is fully up and running. Actually, there's the United Network News and the United Network Plus. Actually, it's up and running, so they have it now. The thing is that they have been the Black Sun and what we call the Deep State, also called. Everyone has been blocking the efforts as far as they could and sabotaging as far as they could, including the banks. Returning to a question of the media, well, a lot of people know that the media, there's two parts in it. Partly one is that pretty much all media is owned by 6 entities in the end. Yeah. That's one thing. The other thing is that is no secret. You can look it up on the CIA homepage. It's Project Mockingbird.
Of course, yeah.
That basically every media is controlled by the Black Sun via the CIA, or the Mossad, or the MI6, or the GRU.
This is the Black Sun organization, and I think we all know at this point the level of their influence, right?
Yeah, infiltration.
Their embeddedment into the matrix. But now there's been a lot of talk about the dark energies in an etheric level and otherwise being removed. The lights getting more illuminated. And that's why I asked the question: is this United News Network that you cited as an example, is it going to become very visible very quickly? Do you think?
That's hard to say, actually. It very much depends on people, because they have well, I don't like to do commercial or advertising for things, but so I won't put specific on, but I have the United Network Plus offers more than 30,000 channels and 50,000 films on demand, and the unique United Network News and more for a very reasonable price every month. And I think this project is so accommodable.
How many people are in the Life Force organization?
As a whole?
Yeah.
Well, perhaps 80 million, perhaps 150, something like that, I'd say.
Wow. So this is
and most of those are indigenous people around the world, and then there are more fragmented in the Western what do you call it, Western world society or culture.
So let me ask you this now. Let's just change this up for a second and then come back to where we were.
I don't have the actual numbers. I'd have to ask Suzanne Holman about that, actually.
Yeah, I'd love to know that. Now, in your own experience, what is your experience been, in terms of your awakening? I mean, have you had a lot of galactic communication?
Well, some. I have a few friends who have very direct communication, and I have a daughter also who's channeling. And is very telepathic and empathic, and I have a few things myself coming through. I get downloads and I get messages. Sometimes I have telepathic communication when I'm very much in sync and balanced. The more I'm able to maintain this, and often it's in sync, or it's close to meditation, after meditation, or during meditation. But
I mean, it's been a part of
it. We are all enhancing these abilities, and the more we invite them, the more we accept them, the less we resist them, the more we transmute our consciousness away from fear and feeling victimized, and into conscious choice, into allowance, and simply stating our intent, pure insanity. Well, I'm happy to get what it is, or as some say, a dear spirit inside showed me what I need to know. We are all getting a lot of this. Some are in resistance, and they can't help it. We've been programmed to be the opposite of what we are meant to in many ways.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think this part of it, I think we got that this was set up in a certain way. I mean, we can look at it a lot of different ways, and we've kind of got enough information and enough self-awareness that we're now moving into this space where, like I was saying earlier, that things can change and are changing very rapidly. But there continues to be these prognostications or downloads or predictions or whatever, and the stories are similar in terms of a financial reset, equality in that regard, and many other regards. I mean, it just feels like it's either that one side or the other is going to prove out. You know what I mean? Like it seems like, I don't want to say time's run out, but like, how much further can it go before something shifts dramatically? Do you see it like the 21st, like there could be the same type of mix of energy that's out there right now, kind of chaotic, kind of distorted, and then all of a sudden on the 21st, everything shifts? Do you see it happening like just overnight, or is it going to be a gradual thing?
It's going to be definitely going to be a gradual thing. Some specifics may change very soon. For instance, if everyone in the world were to receive $2,000 and every child were to be fed, so there wouldn't be like 8 million plus children dying every year from starvation for no reason whatsoever, other than a corrupt and actually idiotic structure that is only honoring death and not life.
Yeah.
Well, very much.
But how does that happen though? Who's going to provide the $2,000?
That is going to be the global central bank,
which is
all the offshore accounts. They actually many of the deep state accounts has been confiscated and closed. They have no access. Kimberly has all the access code now. All actually, even the banks now, they try and make a cross-country money transfer. They can't do that now. The Federal Reserve, they have no access. They can't issue funds. So this is how it's going to happen.
How is the Black Sun, the deep state, functioning if all of that money's being frozen, or do they still have reserves that?
Well, every bank that had any solidarity, any credit, any equity left, they have been purging that and bleeding them dry. So they're running on fumes right now. Every time they sign out from the system, they can't put it back in. So also they're running on drug money, and I think they have not been able to pay bribes for months and years. Actually, Hillary Clinton. Perhaps I should spare you the details. There's some sordid details, and this might be shocking or offensive to some. So perhaps I should leave that out.
What's it in regard to?
Well, if I should put it, I'll put it in as nice words as it is. But Hillary.
Are you talking about that videotape with her and her assistant?
Well, no, I'm talking about that she was picked up by enforcement units from the Global Central Intelligence Agency, and the way the military, the Pentagon, came into compliance and to working with the restoration plan and with Trump was actually and many Black Sun other operatives is actually that Black Sun high-ranking members and people are being picked up and chopped up and sent out in packages to people to explain to them, because they have tried everything, every diplomatic way. They have broken every agreement. Every time they have, Kimberly has tried, and Life Force has tried to put funding through. They have stolen the money, and they have not put anything for the people. Every time they refuse to give anything to people. They can put stuff for all kinds of silly things, but for people, no way. And that has been the issue. And now the Global Central Intelligence has put out notice on the diplomatic lines that forced vaccinations, if you go forward with that, you will you will not be arrested. You will be executed, because that is crimes against humanity. We will be held responsible for crimes against humanity and for treason as a whole against humanity. That's what they put out on the diplomatic line to every military, government, and intelligence agency globally.
If that stuff of that magnitude is happening, and I'm open to everything. I'm just trying to.
I'd say please look it up. I don't want to take my word for it.
No. What I'm trying to say is, no. I'm with you on this. I'm just trying to learn. So, okay, in regard to that, anything of that magnitude, why is it that we're not getting hard evidence of it in a public way?
Because many people are still afraid of Black Sun. They're still the CIA, they have been in control for a long time. They still are in the media. I think they are cleaning out from the top down, and well, I think it's a question of time before it's settled. But I believe when Trump returns in the presidential office and all this nonsense about this election is over, I think that much more will be put public.
Well, I would think so. I would think that given the circumstances, if Trump remains president, from an energetic standpoint alone, there's going to be a huge impact on this earth in many, many different ways. Certainly, if people would be, well, I think there'd be a lot of chaos regardless. But what happens if that doesn't happen?
Well, then they won't have any funding.
What's that?
They won't have any funding. They won't have any money. Their accounts will be frozen.
So regardless of how it plays out, the stuff that you're talking about has pretty much already been done, right? And they're running on fumes.
Yes, so, there are two possibilities. Either they come into compliance with the global restoration plans, and then there's remedy for them and for their crimes. They will be held responsible, but there's the remedy of working with it and making up for their wrongs by restoring and working with the restoration plan to restore and clean up all this mess. That is their one way of remedy. Or they will fail because the accounts will be frozen. They will run out of funds and money. And we are very close to be ready to simply take over the responsibility to have the people take over. And the Life Force organization to take over responsibility for the funding for police, firefighting, infrastructure, everything.
It sounds like a lot's going to happen in a short period of time. Whenever I hear,
Yes, I sure believe so. But well, I know that all their efforts to start third World War or any other depopulation efforts will be stopped. It's not just the Life Force people here on Earth, but also unseen galactic enforcement units are assisting, and also with frequency weapons that can dissolve the weapons. And also Kimberly and the Central Command, they have the ultimate command and ability access to direct nuclear weapons. As I told you, that they point everyone that were planning to take part in this Middle East starting war, that should be a global war. Well, they had their nuclear weapons pointed at each other, at their respective partners, because the global intelligence agency knows who talked to who and who was promising who what, and thus they stopped, because they were told, if you don't stop, we're going to fire. And I guess nobody really wants to have a nuke fired in their head, do they?
So I mean, you talked about it on the last show. So really the bottom line here is that there's enough galactic involvement. There's not going to be nuclear bombs going off. There's not going to be any major type of war at this stage in the game, regardless of what's portrayed. That's what you're saying.
Yes, they from the galactic fleet, they have energy weapons. They can simply melt them down and render them useless in seconds. In fact, if needed, they could freeze time. There's only one outcome. It's not if, but when.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like things are culminating, kind of crescendoing. I don't know where else to go with this. We got another brother coming on in a second, Joseph Lamb, who is well versed in a lot of the same subjects, and it'd be interesting to see what he's got to say as well.
I love to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. And so, let me go back one more time to the well here and see if I can. So, in terms of, do you have any information on how much contact has been made at a conscious level with people? In other words, in an effort to make them more aware and more sensitive to what's really going on. In other words, hearing the message, getting past can you say anything to that?
Well, do you mean like on an etheric level, or on a direct physical level, or combined, or both?
I mean really on an etheric. From an individual standpoint.
Yes.
Communication, connection with galactic aspects.
Yes.
I mean, is there an effort, like a concerted effort from a galactic level, where they're trying to reach, the human hybrid souls on the Earth?
Absolutely. Well, they are very. We have a central role in this whole Ascension event. There is on a galactic level, on a universal level, and a lot of beings here, benevolent beings, are here to assist us and guide us. So, and yes, they are around us. We don't see them. Some of us feel them, and they're only waiting they're reaching out their hand, and they're only waiting for us to say, to grab it and say, please, I welcome it, or I accept. They won't infringe on our free will. So if they say, I don't believe that, I don't want that, nothing's going to happen apart from shining the light and exposing us to frequencies. So a lot is coming up. Many people, I included, feeling that old trauma is coming up to be resolved and worked out, and also many people feel much relief. Also, Ascension symptoms. So many efforts are made.
There's been a lot of Ascension symptoms over the last 2 months.
Yes,
a lot of people. But this was pretty much predicted as well. I mean, through these channelings and downloads over the last few years, that a lot of people would be leaving, physically transitioning off the Earth.
That's a lot of walk-ins.
Yeah, talk about that. What do you mean a lot of walk-ins?
Yes.
When you say a walk-in, what do you mean? And how frequently is it happening? Is it happening a lot?
Yes. Chronologically, a walk-in is a soul agreement between two souls. One soul that is no longer feeling comfortable living here, that agrees to leave the vessel to go to the other side of the whale, as we call it, or to go to 0 point, the same place we go when we die, or transition, as some call it. And the other soul, another soul, is agreeing to come in and take over this vessel. Rarely, what also can happen is that the first soul stays and then is overshadowed by a higher consciousness soul.
You say that
two types of walk-ins.
Okay.
But the main one, or the most common one, is one soul is leaving and another soul is coming in.
That sounds like a soul contract. The other one sounds like a higher aspect of that soul coming in. Is that possible?
Yes, it can be the higher self, but it can also be the Christ consciousness of another soul.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Joseph Ben Joseph, when he was here, it was the soul Emmanuel. He was incarnated, and then he was overshadowed by the Christ Michael, Christ consciousness. So that was one example. There are other examples, I believe, but it's quite rare compared with the one where one soul is leaving and another comes in, and that soul coming in is then taking over the emotions and the memories and so forth of the vessel.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about the black sun and then the other side. You know, I don't know what we want to call it.
There's actually the black sun and the Rothschilds. They're battling over this control system that was before.
Yeah. But okay, so all right, so we'll just call it whatever, the 1%.
Pardon, I was not trying to argue what we.
No, I'm not arguing. I'm just trying to remember my question.
Oh, pardon.
So, no, it's cool. No. So, like, you were talking about the black sun, and okay, as an example, you were talking about how Trump had to be in the black sun,
yes,
in order to even be elected.
Yes,
and that's pretty much how that worked for anyone that's in a position of power. But at some point, this other side, let's just call it the light or whatever you want to call it,
sure,
came in and is communicating with individuals just as it does with us, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And that Trump, and I would assume other people in power, are moving over to that side. Is that happening?
Yes, it has been confirmed that several people positioned in power has some has stepped down and some has died. Well, some has been eliminated, some has died of call it natural causes. Some had accidents.
Accidents.
Well. Yeah.
So it sounds like,
and so then there's some as these walk-ins that I explained, and some are just swayed to simply say, okay, since my masters are no longer alive, I will now prefer to work with the restoration plan rather than being prosecuted for crimes against humanity and high treason.
So it sounds like at a collective level, what's happening is what's happening to us at an individual level. And that at a collective level, the energy, which we can just say is one soul, let's just say it's one soul, 8 billion people, whatever, is integrating all of its aspects, right?
Yes,
one way or the other, it's integrating. It may be, an aspect that's so strong in the black sun, as you call it, that a walk-in comes in that shifts the energy to the other way. I mean, it sounds like that's what's happening. Like, we're not going to get away from, at a human level, of integrating with each other.
No, that is part of what is happening, but there there is something called part of life force, mainly run by Stephen Rao. This goes actually back to the Project Looking Glass that the CIA and the Black Sun was running. One of the timelines, the one we're on, there on that timeline, Stephen Rao would be leading the Great Rebellion, it's called. But it's the people will be the sovereignty and the power will be returned to the people. It can happen in several different ways. It can happen partly by the old structure coming into compliance with the restoration plan and actually working for the people and to restore nature, cleaning up, stop polluting, stop putting poisons in the foods and the waters and so forth, cleaning up, feeding everyone, housing everyone. That is part of it. Another way could be that they simply refuse to come into compliance, and then they are either confiscated or simply defunded and fails, and then the other structure that is ready will take over. And it can happen as a combination. That is actually not set yet, as I see it. It depends on choices from several individuals.
I said, well, yeah, and I've heard that before. You know, I mean, to me, I hear some similar things to other narratives or downloads people have talked about. But this one, actually, you actually have there's an organization. It's a network worldwide. Now, I want to make sure that we go back over this real quick. What were you saying about the monetary system, the Federal Reserve, and this other banking network outside the matrix? Like that there was some type of transition happening, the certain money's being frozen and people being depleted of their reserves while this other system gets in place. Is it in place?
It is in place.
How long do you think it will be before it's put in place?
Well, certainly within this year, hopefully within weeks or months. The thing is that well, to answer your question, I'd have to quickly explain how the old monetary system worked. Before
most people here are familiar with the fiat system and how that.
No, not that way. Not that way. How funds came? How if you took money from the back system to the front system? How did you do that? Was several layers of coding that has to go through the Federal Reserve, and there had to be coding from the back system and the front system, and there were 9 layers of what do you call it, clearance on the front and the back system. Kimberly Angong has made some video. She explains this on a whiteboard, and well, it's a 3-4 hour long explanation. I won't go into the full explanation, but the Mossad or the CIA or MI6 and so on, intelligence was in every back office of every bank, and everything was connected, but it had to go through the back system. And now the back system is fully integrated with the front system. So what basically happened is that the Dragon families, the level 9s, we are level 1s, but the whole banking system and the intelligence has been taken over. So they don't really have control anymore. They don't have access to look at what is at what account, and they can't issue money. And many of them can't move money. So and she has made a depository pouch for every one of us, plus at the last what do you call it, back doors or back pockets that could be so that could enable the deep state or the Black Sun or the reptilian, anyone to hack it or to steal it. Those are being closed now.
All right. What's up, Joseph? Meet Martin. Martin's our friend.
Greetings.
You're gonna see me go like this in and out my ear because there's like some feedback coming through. So when I respond, yeah, that's what's going on.
No problem.
That's got to be some type of new technology or something.
Man,
Joseph,
you think the Pleiadians beam me something?
so things are seem to be culminating here. We've had an interesting conversation for the last hour with Martin, but you know, tomorrow there's the 6th, which is kind of a D-Day, I guess, of some sort. Inauguration's the 20th. Martin's talking about the 21st with the intel that he's getting from the group he's involved with in terms of some type of liberation to some degree or another. What are you feeling right now? What are you seeing out there? What do you know? You know, I know you'll keep it real. You always
Right now, I feel like a giant transmuter of lower energies and fears and doubts. And I'm like, Father, I know this can't be mine, but let's just get through it. And then I asked Dad, and I'm like, should I do the show? And I kept getting chills, and I'm like, let's do the show. And then instantly frequencies already shifting as I'm also listening to this great galactic comrade. So, awesome.
Spoken like a true life warrior. Tell it like it is. Yeah. Yeah, that's important, you know, the personal honesty and the personal experience. I mean, that's really, to me, how do you get that vibe out there? You know, I mean, it's just like,
well, I you know, it's like people know what's real nowadays. You know, it is what it is. It's like, you know, Christ becoming human is just that. You know, we go through the different levels and ascend. And so it's kind of like, you know, how relatable are you if you ain't been through the trenches with them? You know, how much of a comrade are you if you ain't got your elbows dirty in the dirt, taking shots and giving them back if you have to, you know, divinely. So, you know, I go through it all the time. I'm like, I feel like I've mastered this class, God. I really do. And I don't understand why I'm going through this again. Like, why am I thinking this and that? And this is a lower frequency. I'm like, I know it's all good. And then it came to me again, like before I did the show, is like, you wouldn't be here, brother, if you're vibing that high. I'm like, okay, I get it. So there's a couple little speed bumps before we totally 5D it, I suppose.
yeah, I think everybody's, no, there are no exceptions. Everybody.
Unless you got a hoverboard, then you're good.
Right. That's how Jesus walked on water, you know.
Yeah, we're working on it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm out the boat right now, as a matter of fact, Todd.
I feel like that once, and I hate to put it this way, one side or the other, because I don't really mean it that way, but I just have this feeling that it's like a balloon blowing up bigger and bigger and bigger. Our individual experience is kind of paralleling it, like what you just described, because everybody that's been on the show in the past 3 or 4 weeks is saying the same thing. But I feel like something's going to prove out very quickly. Like we're not talking like weeks, we're talking days.
Exactly.
And of course, there's things that are correlating with that impression. That's my impression. I want to make that clear. But what are your thoughts on that? Are you feeling anything like that?
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, if you think about it, the other camp won't let Trump in, and we won't let Biden in. So with that example alone, there's not much more wiggle room for one way or the other. It's going one way or the other, right? So, and as you see, like I'm watching some of these rallies and the people gathering, you know, today, everyone's saying, you know, where are these Biden supporters? It's obvious that most of the masses are really with it. They've been dogged down by the same percent over and over. So it gets real easy, I think, at this point for them to go, okay, he's working for me. I don't know. You know, you could start feeling from your heart more and more to where politicians can't hide behind the words. They have to reveal themselves through their energy as the third eye is opening to read it and the heart is reading it. So it has to, it's going to shift higher. There was always potentials of it being a good shift and a higher shift from what I was given from galactic councils, but the potentials were so high that we were going to make it this time, that this planet was going to become a star citizen, you know, with the other planets, that, you know, we're not going to cycle through the self-destruction again. And the Pleiadians and the other galactic benevolent, guardians weren't going to let it happen, just because some dude has a temper tantrum and wants to throw rocks at the rest of the people. Like, nah, we're good. We're not going to have that. If these people do want to wake up on their own, however, we're going to support that, but we're not going to do their homework for them. We're here as tutors. We're here as guides. And that's how you do that. Otherwise, you're going to miss lessons, and, you don't want to miss those kind of lessons, as you may have bigger and more capable technology to do destruction in the wrong hands. It's almost like divinely guided that they can't enter there and can't obtain that kind of power without that kind of responsibility and love.
Right on, man. That was a mouthful.
It was a long answer.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was.
What did I just say, Father? Rewind it. This is why it's recorded.
You got anything to add to that, Martin?
Well, basically, I had nothing more to add. That I very much concur what you're saying. Apart from one little thing, you say go one way or the other. Well, it can only go one way, really. There's no way it's going back to the dark control system.
True.
There's no way that these leaps in consciousness and in energies, there's no way that's going back to what it was before. So, but I'm sure that what we meant was something else than that. So,
yes,
that was all I had to add.
Yeah, I just meant so. I guess suppose the dark thought it could go the other way, and it's just not going to go that way. The only way it's going to go that way for them is they're going to be gone somewhere else to experience that.
Somewhere else, yeah. Perhaps on planet K87 or something.
AK-47. Right?
Yeah, I once hit that station on my radio, and I was like, shit.
Well, and what Martin was saying was a pretty interesting explanation when we were talking about how I mentioned that, over the last few years, people had downloaded, there would come at this time or at a certain time that more and more people would be physically transitioning. And Martin was talking about how the energy at that level is shifting through, some souls transitioning through different ways, but also through walk-ins, where a soul that can't make the jump leaves and another one comes in that can. I thought that was pretty interesting, because that to me is bringing into reality what is as much of our existence, if not more, that everyone's experiencing in these circles on an individual level and sometimes with other people, but it's not really impacted or talked about on a wider scale,
That's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I could see that. What stays on Earth is going to basically be heavenly and pure intent on a fifth dimensional level and beyond. So, any body that remains, so to speak, there's going to have to be a good spirit around. To be in the heavenly realms, it just makes sense.
And what about? I've been feeling this. Morgan. Obviously, everything I experience. The same can go for her. Usually goes through her first, like a lot of women on the planet. And also what a lot of people have been saying recently is in regard to manifestation, not just on a individual level, but what we would want for the collective, let's say. But that the impression is ask or be sure you know what you want. Clearly state your intention, know that you want it, and then kind of let it go and it comes. Mm-hmm. Are you guys feeling any of that?
Specifics matter. To be specific, what one says, I can give an example with affirmations. Some say, I state the intention that I want this and I want that, or some people say, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to let go. I don't know. And the universe stands and say, yes, you're ready. They're ready. Should we do it then? Should we do it then? Should we do it then? So it's much better to say, like, I'm now letting go of this, for instance. So so specifics matter. That it makes a difference in this fashion. So perhaps now maybe I moved astray from the question, but
You're good.
but it's yes, it's coming. Our hearts are opening, our minds are, our glands are opening. We are, well, naturally we adapt to what it, well, both in consciousness and physically we're adapting to these new energies, and if you resist enough, well, you may not make it, or it's actually going to be very uncomfortable. But accepting and moving with it, we can get a lot that is coming up to be resolved from the collective consciousness. So it may not even be our own, but well, we chose to be here to do this thing now, and I think we will feel much more relief the coming weeks and months.
Oh yes, oh yes. I think sometimes you're the most fatigued toward the finish line. You know. So.
Yeah.
Darkest night.
Not where everybody looks like shit right now. Oh, I love what you, Joseph, what you said at the very beginning when I said, like, what's going on? And you just very much without a charge. You just said, well, you got Trump on this side, so to speak, Biden over here, so to speak. This side won't accept Biden. This side won't accept Trump. You know, it was such a multifaceted statement. But really, and we were talking about earlier about how it seems like the collective is simulating what we're doing, and that's integrating, you know, dark and light within ourselves and all that.
Yeah.
Do you see like a tipping point? Do you see like a tipping point at some point on the linear coming up where there's like a stampede from one side to the other, whatever that maybe look like?
Yeah, I mean, another tipping. I mean, I think the election was a big tipping point for the final like kabooey, and that's setting off a chain of other activations and other big events, such as everyone feeling the red wave and then seeing these weird numbers like, whoa, we knew it was rigged, but this is wild. Wow. Okay. I wish I could do this with my bank or something, maybe we can. But yeah, so I don't know if there's just going to be one set date, but I know like one of the big dates will be the revelation of perhaps those that we thought were dead are living,
Yeah.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Send me some more cues through the ether.
Well, it's, the thing is, there's so much information, so much misinformation. And at the end of the day, you're left there, just you and the universe, mano a mano, with your own intuition, telepathy, and discernment. And this whole trip on a personal level.
And the children. That's someone messaged about the children. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, we can talk about that. But what I was going to say is, and it seems to come back to this place where you got to detach from everything while all this other stuff is happening. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. I like what you just said a minute ago about there being a big kabooey, whatever that may have been. And I'm not even like focused on individuals, but just the energy. And I think that's what Martin was saying. There really is no two ways. There's only one way this is going to go down. And the basis of that is there is a collective energetic expansion that's occurred.
Oh yeah.
So it's not really about individuals and people, not to take anything away from individuals and people and souls and their initiatives and their dreams and their missions and purposes. But it's like at some level, there must be an acceptance with enough human beings on the earth of being able to explain things like you did at the very top when you came in a while ago, Joseph, and said, this is what you have. I mean, it's not really like one side or another. It's more like what Martin said. There's only one thing that can happen.
Yeah, the divine evolution of the spirit and soul will be ongoing for eternity through the human experience and others, you know. And I also have to remind myself when there's turbulences, there wasn't that human experience, I suppose, without some of those characteristics. But the beautiful thing is we'll see us merge that with heaven.
Yeah.
So I guess everything we were looking for, where it's like, I want like a week of peace, Lord. Like no stones thrown at me. I'm not throwing them back. Like, can we get there? And I'm assured, yes, we're getting there. And just by that pure will and drive, you can see miracles and mountains move.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am so.
Well,
the remedy.
The individuals and the collective as a whole has very much a saying as how fast is this going to happen, and also to very much extent how is it going to look, how is it going to feel, how is it going to happen in specifics. But the main cause of where we are going is said we are beyond that tipping point, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, we have one. Yes, it's many things. Most actually has been in the hidden. As goes for the general public, it has been very much in the hidden. But even for those most enlightened or best updated here, very much has been hidden and in the unseen or behind the scenes, if you like. But very much so that there's pretty, as I said, I think we all feel it in our hearts. It can basically go only one way, but pretty much everyone agrees, Chairlings or that. Of course, we have a free will. So how fast it's going is how fast can we integrate these aspects of ourselves, darkness and light together, and the more we do this, and the more we lead the way as good examples, and say that the more we will shine that into the collective context, and also physically, specifically, face to face, or like we do now, inspire people, stepping out of fear, letting if people can truly feel, and we can that in our hearts, we can physically feel when someone is really caring, really compassionate, really loving. Mm-hmm. And that is inspiring. It's you could call it infective if you want.
It's amazing,
that word, but it's contagious.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Hell yeah, it is. That's Soulogy. That's it. I mean, it is, and that's the great thing is, no matter what is going on, it's an inside job to the nth degree, and that's the greatest contribution you can make to the collective energy.
Lovely, yes.
Which is cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, Joe, we can do something on a physical level as well. Come together in unity in a community, as with friends, reach out, but also in the local communities, we can come together. We can tell our next door neighbor. Well, we can show them love, of course, but when people, I think very soon, a lot of things will come out in the open, and many people will be looking for guidance and leadership, because they will be confused. Some will be in shock, and that's when we can step up and truly be helpful in our local communities. Some may not be prepared at all, and so that's where the light workers really need to step up, I believe. Yeah. It's around now. I think it could break any day, any week.
Man, it sure feels like something's gonna bust. Joseph, you don't have any intel on when the pin's gonna pop the balloon?
I mean, I see it popped in a sense. It's just a flap floating around in the air that's coming down. I mean, like he said, the light has already won. Yeah. The old organizations are imploding upon their own ill intent, and those that choose 5D and goodness from their heart have access and keys to the kingdom. Yeah, that's simple.
And it's just the human aspect that's impatient.
The human aspect. Yeah,
wants to see the hard evidence.
It's earning the keys and then being like, wow, there's even higher dimensions. And it's like, oh yeah, I originated from these dimensions as well.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a dance. Let me get more rhythm in it, less turbulence, more good times. I mean, we've experienced the just pure bliss. And then when we get the turbulence, not just to experience it, but perhaps figure out what altitude to fly and how to go around it so it doesn't happen again. Yeah. Or furthermore, just clear the air to where it's gone. And I think collectively we're doing that. And it does take time. It does take a transition. But again, like I sometimes get on a video game and have a good time. Yeah. There's suspense. Sometimes I really get into the role. Sometimes when I get killed, you'd think I died in real life as I'm going to, maybe throw a controller. And that's part of, getting like, oh, wait, I'm taking this too seriously. Boom. Sometimes taking this too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing that's cool, and I would bet it's everywhere. And over the last month, 2020, everything expanded in all ways, right? I mean, in every aspect. But in particular, in the last month, to me, the clarity and the longevity of, I would call, dimensional experiences, multidimensional connection, that like you're talking about and referring to, has been stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where I'm literally like, okay, I can reach into this other timeline. It's like almost like the grid, the true grid or the true cosmic web is materializing. Like all the things I can access have become more accessible, and the other part that's happening is that kind of dialogue that happens inside our heads. And it's like, are you sure you want to do that? What do you really want? It's like this conversation of, I don't know, just clarity, like really knowing what you want, and something is aligning that's helping that to occur. That's my 2 cents. But to me, that's the evidence.
That timeline exists. Yeah, that superhero timeline. It does, maybe takes a little work and bouncing around, but it's worth it. And that's the remedy. Like brother was talking about earlier, the remedy is just doing the best we possibly can on any level, and taking in new information and not being afraid, but taking it through the heart and seeing where it resonates and how it expands the heart. And if it contracts the heart, perhaps we need to step away from something and examine ourselves further. Because the more we can be in tune with the source creator, the more we can give it out to people. The more we're looking for it in other people, perhaps it's not, maybe it's, it's kind of like going to the cow for your protein. Well, the cow goes to the grass. Leave the cows alone. That kind of thing. They're nice.
No, but that makes a lot of sense. Focus on your own.
The children is the tipping point. I got some hard-headed people I know. And, they really think we're still wearing tinfoil hats, which I may have one under here. But, the tipping point is like, you're going to negate children being abused. You're going to negate them being herded worse than cattle. Then there is no place on this earth at this time for you. And you will be, allocated elsewhere for that experience. But for the rest of us, oh man, this is stomach turning and warrior breeding. So there is no turning back. That's for sure. And it does become, and little things do start to manifest bigger. And I just want to stress that. Well, not stress that. I want to underline that and highlight it, and just say that and reinforce that, because, Q is military. Q is part of rescuing these children and deserves our utmost respect and airtime at times, I believe. But to each their own, where we all resonate.
So Martin was talking about, because I said Martin. Hoorah. Are you a Marine?
That's for my guys out there. They know who they are.
So
they gotta do that. That what was that one show where that guy has got to do these crazy jobs that no one wants to do, dirty jobs. You want to talk about dirty jobs where a camera doesn't even want to go, bro. That's what they're doing. So sometimes we got to think of what the children went through and what our soldiers have to go through to rescue them. It will make us feel a little bit lighter in the sense that, if they can do that, what can't I do?
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
God bless the children.
There's all kinds of stuff going on, man.
The victory of the light is the biggest show.
So I was asking Martin earlier. I said, if there is, and I believe To some degree, there is absolutely. Not that it matters what I believe, but
it does matter what you believe, of
well,
course,
you're
because
right.
what you
Does
believe
matter.
manifests.
You're right.
It
Yes, I
manifests
stand
into your
corrected.
timeline.
I
Like
stand
I was
corrected.
believing earlier, maybe someone wasn't as close to my heart as they were, and I felt turbulence. I'm like, oh, that's not right. They do love me. I know they love me. They might be
Yeah,
watching.
you're right.
You know,
You're
it's all
absolutely
good.
right.
It's all good.
And I was saying to him, okay, if there is this galactic human hybrid soul connection uh, that there is with the resources energetically and otherwise that it has, why don't we have a strong alternative, a huge alternative media outlet, such as a website or such as a news or whatever. Now he was talking about United News Network.
I'm starting one today, Todd. It's called Liberator TV. We're in high definition all the time. No, you know, what assassinated the mainstream media? What is To Kill a Mockingbird?
Yeah.
What is Q? What is this? What is my FB timeline? What is my YouTube channel? What is all of that collectively doing to the mainstream media? Who is the news now? Who is the narrative? The people. We don't need one set mainstream lane. We are that collectively. And you can see it in all these pockets, and some are bigger than others. Like you got Next News, you got you got some good ones, RSBN and Newsmax, and there's some other ones. God bless them, you know. And so it's there. It's all there. I mean, if it wasn't there, we wouldn't have turned the tide against the mainstream narrative.
Good point.
There's also a multidimensional answer to that question. And you were talking about portals and many other things opening. But actually, in our DNA, in our system, in our Akashic blueprint, we have all this. Mainly, most people only know of our seven main chakras. We have 5 on top of that, 12 plus 1. This is a cosmic sacred geometry based on the 12-digit or 12 cipher number rather than the 10-digit system. And when we open these, each of these chakras opens into this multidimensionality, and the top of them, it opens into telepathy and even jumping in time and space through 0 point as a Christ of consciousness. And our DNA is increasing in its efficiency, and when we raise enough in efficiency of DNA, we may be in the mid or late 30s by now of percentage of functional in DNA. But when it activates, we don't need those mainstream media or anything. We just know by heart or by telepathic. So it's really many facets to how this is going to happen. As to why it has not happened yet, there's an angle to that too, because it's part of the awakening is for the masses, for the collective, is to see, to experience by themselves, not be told by someone else, but to awaken from within, to see, this doesn't add up. This doesn't add up. Okay, first, now they see this, and now there's that, and all this evidence comes around. Okay, they've been lying the whole time. So it's part of the human experience collectively of awakening. And that is, somewhat rigid. That is part of what it hasn't happened. In praxis, very shortly, all those mainstream media, they could be confiscated. For instance, the Global Intelligence Office could freeze the funds or confiscate them or take it over. It could be taken over by who knows, by Gold Squads or Delta Force teams, and simply be put to broadcast the truth. There are many fashions, but I believe this has not happened, as I explained, because of the awakening experience of the collective as a whole, out of respect for when they're ready. Simply.
Yeah, no, I I totally dig what you're both saying, and I really love the the literalness and the uh, metaphoric and the ability to use it as an analogy, which is what Joseph was talking about with platforms. You know, I mean, he's right. Everything's inverted. All these things that we see as being the big, powerful things really aren't. They're not aligning with the frequency of the people anymore. You can see that. You know, like false flags don't align with the frequency of the people because they've just risen above it, and so all these digital warriors, all these digital platforms are actually the power. That was a great point. And I think that also is a great analogy for, our whole ground crew as a whole. Because nobody's down here just twiddling their thumbs.
It's true. I mean, even if it seems like it, people are going through something, even if they don't disclose it verbally. And that's where our telepathy and our heart connections help to heal each other. We feel someone hurt, and you may not even have to go to their house. You could pray for them and send them energy and healing and light crystal energy and diamonds, all the rubies, sapphires, all of it. You send it to them, and they'll feel that. And maybe they don't know why their day is better, but that's okay, right? Because collectively, we're trying to uplift each other one way or another.
True. I just realized you're using the name Too True, and I just realized that you got 3 videos on your wall where you've done a little something with Tupac.
Oh man, that's the homie. What's up? Hey, what's up, bro? Yeah, I was just telling him you're still here, bro. I'm phased out by it too still. Yeah, Pac's the man. That's my homie, bro. I mean, since I was a young kid, bro, I remember listening to songs like Life Goes On and just tearing up and just hearing the compassion through the man. And, we are the new age prophets, not to toot our horns, but the trumpets are blowing. And this is the new age revelations. And he was a scribe, and I'm sure he was of days of old, and he wrote the truth, and he challenged the Illuminati and, the whatever the unholy sun group was, he went against them, and then the Lord protected him. And it's like, no, you're not crucifying this son. Sorry. Nice try. I will let you have your own deception. You'll have your own illusion if you want to place that on the people. You will place it upon your own. And then that is the teacher for them, perhaps in the next cycle that they go through. Perhaps, the villains of today one day will be trying to do something better in another life. But for at this point, man, Pac's the homie, man. Much love.
I know, man. He kept me alive on the streets for 2 years.
Man, Tupac never even died. It was like, even if he did so much work, like even after he passed, his energy was just so rambunctious and momentum.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible for the handlers.
It grew as a consciousness.
He wouldn't have a handler or controller. That's a wild Black Panther, brother. He wouldn't have a handler or controller on him. Nothing.
So can you
actually he enjoyed when they tried though. And that's what his warrior spirit was. I was like, I was like, Lord, we get bored in heaven. It's like, well, hey, if you want a mission, I'll give you a holy way to be a warrior. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling a little, and I kind of feel that sometimes because I almost have to like deprogram from the war mode. I've been used to just, everywhere I go being targeted, this place, that place, just like feeling like Rocky in the ring everywhere. I'm like, I'm ready to give hugs, man. And it's about that time. For those that want the hugs, but they got a knife in their hand. Don't wonder why I'm boxing.
Can you spit a little Tupac for us, staring in my rear view?
Dear God, I've been feeling like I'm close to Jesus, paranoid by my pistols, close smoking trees. Keep my eyes on my foes, those close to me. Watching enemies catch strays, straight choking me. But it's the thug in me. Now talk a lot of bad boy shit and get the squilling. Bitch made catching feelings. Anyway, I edited a little bit of Pac right there. That wasn't from staring through my rear view, but
I know.
Yeah, that's what came to mind. I mean, the songs he did, even as a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen,
a great
mama.
Song, man.
I finally understand for a woman it ain't easy trying to raise a man. You always was committed. A single mother on welfare. Tell me how you did it. There's no way I can pay you back. The plan to show you that I understand.
Yeah, I love him with the Outlaws too.
No wonder they're like, get him off the radio, get him out of here. There's something I don't like about him, man. I will be flipping the tables over with him.
Oh, he was definitely.
Oh man, he's still here, man. That's the funny part.
I know.
I mean, I feel in my heart that physically he's still here. I don't just mean spiritually.
Hey, back in the old studio, I made music with him and a bunch of other transitioned brothers and sisters.
Right.
Yeah,
don't start me on Tupac. It'll be the whole show.
So, all right, man. Martin, you got anything else before we get out of here? We'll come back to.
Well, I think
be the whole show.
I'll just tell anyone that really the biggest blocking now is it's actually obvious. Why is everyone that has ill intent pushing fear, all kinds of scenarios of fear, right?
Yeah.
The biggest block is actually fear in the collective and individually. But every one of us that can rise beyond fear, we can actually help our brothers and sisters to do the same. So I believe that I lost it. Letting go of fear, choosing love over fear. That's a short way of saying it.
Yeah. What you got, too?
Oh, I'm still wondering when I'm gonna have that Tupac party. I'm like, so brothers.
Dude, I'm gonna be there.
Listen, I'm waiting for John to pick me up and like, hey, Princess Di. Listen, I was creating the new Bible for these folks. Like, I knew these people were taken out by the enemy, or now I know the enemy thought they took them out.
Yeah.
And so I was just collecting interviews. I was collecting studies, research. I was putting it in my songs. I was putting it everywhere I walked and breathed, that they would breathe through me. Like Pac said in one of his songs, The Good Die Young. You know, and that's just like, man, it just to almost be like, okay, what would be like my heavenly vision? All right, so you know all those people that you really love, those Jedis you thought were dead and you thought you were the last one ready to die? Well, not only are you not going to die, they're alive. I'm like, nah, get out of here. I wouldn't believe it, bro. And it's like, that's happening? I'm like, all right, that's awesome, bro. Like, for real. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, John, you know, people are telling me on comments. I've been seeing Tupac at the rallies.
Wow. Man, I don't put anything outside the realm of possibility.
Well, you think about it, the Jedi catch on, you know, okay, they're going to hunt and kill us to the ends of the earth. Let's pretend we're dead.
There you go.
And then we'll build up a counter, because wisdom trumps the clever ill wit of the enemy. Or we should say the lower density realms.
Intelligence over intellect.
Yeah.
Heart and wisdom, of our creator. Actually, we are all in unity.
It's where it came from. They all came from that.
Exactly. We all came from the same consciousness. So actually, what is about ET? Actually, about ET extraterrestrial contact. That all comes down to when we let go of fear and when we come into unity. As soon as that happens, they're coming through. Then we'll see them more. Of course, we can see them in the sky. We can see lights dancing. There are many sightings, but like landing or like mass contact is not going to happen before we come into unity, because we're still, as you said, pretty barbaric. We still tend to have this old habit of going into attack mode or into what do we call it? Defensive reactions.
Yeah. Programming.
But it'll be over soon. I feel it changing very much in myself, and I can observe around me.
I see it changing in everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And those it's not changing in are leaving, and other new ones are coming in, even with higher consciousness than us. So
these kids. Joseph, you said before we get out of here, you said something early on about the things that are really small or really big, something like that.
Yeah. Like that right there. Ill intent, any small ill intent. Like if let's say someone smears a military group rescuing children, that's disgusting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would those little things add up, brother.
So that's the good things.
Yeah.
But let's keep it 5D for those that want it. I love you guys. My Kundalini is all over the place like a dragon. But a good
Dragons
dragon.
are here.
But a good dragon.
Let's connect again.
I ain't bragging. But
Let's
I
connect
fly like
again.
a dragon. And for the people, for respect, I stick my neck out like a giraffe. You get that?
Yeah. You're on fire tonight.
Brother, it's the Holy Spirit. Listen, how do you win every battle?
Well,
You never start one.
Never
You
quit.
just you want to better the people. Your whole foundation is built on the golden cities on high.
Yeah.
So when you manifest that down here, the Lord will always have your back. Divinely, you are supported if you are divinely in service.
that's right.
And so it's like, I don't know, some man, your raps kick ass. She's like, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to do this just to show you I can do it the best. And then after I do it, we'll have peace.
Coming into self-mastery, yes.
Yes, sir.
Right on. Let's get together again in next month.
Sure.
Let's see what happens next month.
Yeah.
Party in the mothership. Party in the mothership.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, I'd love to pick up on this, and we can pick up what really happened with about compared to what was announced. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
I got a busy quote. Ever since Pac died, I know what thugs are all about. Make a sacrifice for Christ. These never could kill me twice.
Thanks so
Peace
much.
out.
Peace.
See y'all.